preparing to transfer now. This is your last chance to bail, June.
Do it.
Weapon is a hell of a way to greet your new partner.
So you're June.
We're burning time. Now that we're all best of friends, let's make each other rich.
I'm not just here to look pretty. I've got away with celestial tech.
I see a lot of potential in this new partnership.
Let me light the way for you.
Target acquired.
Many thanks again for your help.
You should have been honest.
This place is forbidden. The price is death.
That's what it means to be a traveler.
Do you know what fear is? The Mariyama do. They thrive on it. These monstrous celestials haunt the darkest corners of the cluster, hunting for isolated targets. And, unfortunately for their victims, the Mariyama are interested in more than just stealing cargo. They want minds, memories, emotions. The more twisted and tortured, the better. Captured prey will be subjected to intense psychological torment before being neurologically drained. Those rare few who the Mariyama allowed to survive and escape often never return to space, for they know too well the terror that lurks out there, in the dark, between the stars. I am CZ Orlev. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
We've made the capital city on your world, Persepolis, a major hub of your adventures and your experience. And so you go off on your Exodus journeys, and you leave behind your city and some of your friends and maybe even family members, and you make choices about them. For example, not everyone has to come on an Exodus with you. You might leave some behind. And when you come back, it could be a decade later, it could be 4 decades later, and those choices will have impacted your relationships with people that are now a decade older or 3 or 4 decades older, how your city has evolved, how technology has been integrated into everything from the military to, civic structures to, well, I can go on and on.
June is the player character in the game. You'll have some options in terms of character creation that we'll be talking about at a later time, so that'll give you some unique aspects to who June is for you. But ultimately, your player experience is going to be dictated primarily by the choices you make throughout the experience overall. You'll make choices both at a kind of micro level and a macro level in terms of the overall story and in terms of the things you do with gameplay. So you'll be able to customize your character through some traditional ways that you can do in RPGs with skill trees and progression paths that we think are going to be compelling for players. But on top of that, the choices you make throughout the story are really going to dictate who June becomes and ultimately what they're shaped, both by yourself, but also the companions that surround you and your loved ones that, in the cases of time dilation, you'll leave them back home in some situations. And the manifestations and ramifications of those choices are going to be meaningful to you and shape you as June the player.
Well, actually, I'd say that it was more Jesse Sky's vision. He was the one who solved the puzzle. We were coming up with the universe and figuring out what a player was doing, and Jesse just kind of brought it all together. You're going to be part of an organization that goes out and finds these remnants that you can bring back that will help your world and change your world, and that's going to be the centerpiece of the IP because that's what the player is going to play as, and that's how the Travelers came about. Jesse's our creative director, and he has a really good way of taking all the elements and figuring out how they work holistically and then coming up with something cool that players will want to be. So that's how the Travelers came about.
Yeah, one of the coolest things for, if I can add on to that, is just when it was described to me by James and Jesse early on, there's elements of it that we want to feel elite and somewhat secretive. You can think a little bit of inspiration from like the Jedi, but there's not like a Jedi Council in the game that kind of is an overarching kind of structure to it. They're a little bit more rogue, a little bit more independent, but still work towards a common goal of saving humanity. And I think that's kind of a binding force with them on these journeys that they go on that are interstellar and have impact on them timeline-wise that's different from a typical journey.
Well, the Centauri cluster, it's the only place within the galactic neighborhood that had worlds that were in the habitable zone and that could be terraformed easily in the grand scheme of things, which is why the first of those who went out on an exodus on their ark ships were able to colonize those worlds and create civilizations. Those civilizations grew until they were enormous and technologically superior civilizations, and they sent out what we call the green signal to the rest of the galaxy so that the other ark ships out there could come to this galactic Eden. So the ark ships started arriving, but they arrived slowly over thousands of years. So we have this really interesting dwarf galaxy with thousands of star systems and empires and organizations. Some of them have already died off and there's just the remnants left, while others might be just a few decades old, filled with humans who just got off their ark ships who were on Earth like a century before. So the sky's the limit, which is really cool because it means that there are so many different places and eras and civilizations that you can visit within the Centauri cluster.
I think one of the coolest things about the IP in that context of that question is just that juxtaposition. Like the Celestials that have evolved over 40,000 years contrasted with humans that are basically near Earth to us that just got off ark ships. I mean, James said this, but like if you really stop and think about that, like there are descendants that have changed, and we're kind of as humans, kind of the scrubs of the universe that are fighting to survive. And that's where June comes in as the player character to really kind of reestablish humanity's hope for a future that's meaningful to humans as we know them, contrasted with the Celestials, who are much more evolved and have done some amazing things in the Centauri universe.
Oh, the Mariama. Of course you're going to interact with them. They're quite creepy, and we did want a celestial civilization that was just evil. We created it was probably like a page-long description of the Mariama and what they were and what they did. But then we gave that to Peter F. Hamilton, and he just dialed it up to like ridiculous. And then the company that made the video that you saw, Aaron Sims, they took that and just visualized it in an amazing way. So they're turning out to be as awesomely creepy and evil as we wanted them to be.
It has to be in the context of what we've already revealed, because there's so many good ones. I mean, in the game overall. What character would I want to be in the world of Exodus that we've revealed so far? Based on that set, I'd probably say June. I mean, I'm excited to play as June and define him or her to be the player that I want to be in the game.
You don't want to be a Crown Celestial? The Crown Celestials can literally, they're so smart and they live so long, and they can do everything that June can do, and they have the ability to install riders in their brains so they don't have to, if they're in a difficult situation, they can give themselves a personality that'll perfectly match it. I'm thinking of all the uses for that. I'd be a Crown Celestial. But I wouldn't do the whole mind line thing, because that would feel like I was murdering my child. So I would just let myself die. I can't remember how long they live.
I like the trials of the heirs, though. That's super cool.
Oh yeah, that was pretty brutal. If you, again, reading the book, it involves a unicorn and lots of gore. So anyways.